Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach. The other day I told you it was going to be the night of wrestling. Although I didn't get to put up as many reviews as I wanted to that night, I think I went to bed pretty early after watching a few different things. I thought I would come back and I would review In Your House number 2. I had a lot of fun doing the WWE Network review of In Your House 1. I had a lot of good feel-good memories about, the house and everything like that, and I talked about how I wanted Joey Styles on his WWE YouTube show to bring back the house. I want to see what it looks like these days. I want them to have a freaking pay-per-view called In Your House Returns and put the house out there. I want to see somebody do an entrance where they come through the door. We've seen it before. I want to see Shawn Michaels coming down and rappelling off of the roof with a rope like he's the pirate or something like that. Thing was, I have a lot of good memories about watching these In Your House shows. I told you the story about how these pay-per-views were only $20. It was pretty easy to bug your dad, bug your mom, and get them to say, you know what, the show's only $20. I'll order it for the kid, and he'll shut up for a few hours. And that's why I remember watching a lot of these. I didn't get to get WrestleMania or SummerSlam all the time, but the In Your Houses were pretty easy. They were a cheap price. And from going back and watching these shows, they were cheap for a reason. Once again, 6 matches, just under 2 hours. This was like, it would have been a really great Raw for the time. But for a pay-per-view, going back and watching something from 1995, this wasn't the best wrestling to watch. It's built around, Diesel being the champion. Of course, everybody knows that Kevin Nash, Diesel, during his run as WWF champion, was one of the lowest, ticket numbers of all time for the WWF as a whole. They were coming off of, the Hulk Hogan era ending and trying to rebuild and find an image. By this time, Bret Hart had been champion. And now they were giving Diesel a chance. I think it would be another year before Shawn Michaels would become champion, and they would really get the ball running again. There was a good couple of years when it was pretty bad, for the WWF. As a kid, you sort of noticed, but at the same time, you didn't at the same time. This show kicked off with the Roadie going up against 1-2-3 Kid. I had to go and do background check. I was trying to figure out why the Roadie was a heel, but 1-2-3 Kid was acting as a heel. Before the bell rang, the 1-2-3 Kid attacked the Roadie, and I was like, "Whoa, is Kid playing heel here?" He's pretty out of character for a babyface, especially for the 1-2-3 Kid. By this time, he hadn't joined the $1 Million Corporation yet. He wasn't to be managed by Ted DiBiase. That was much later. But basically, as I was trying to look this up, I had found out that 1-2-3 Kid had suffered a serious real-life neck injury, and that's the reason why he was pulled from In Your House number 1. That was the reason why we had the Roadie and Jeff Jarrett versus Razor Ramon handicap match. And it was supposed to be a tag. 1-2-3 Kid was pulled from it. In this match, the Roadie was able to help himself and get a win over the 1-2-3 Kid in a match that really wasn't that memorable. From there, we went to King Mabel coming out as a member of Men on a Mission. I honestly thought that when King Mabel won the King of the Ring, I thought that honestly he just sort of quit the tag team. I knew that Sir Mo was still acting basically as his manager because the manager of Men on the Mission, the guy who rapped with him when they came out to the ring, had basically hit the bricks. He went back to his, I think he did a radio show is the last thing that I had heard that he went back to. And he just went back to that, and we never saw him again in wrestling. It's pretty weird. I mean, a guy that was as over as him just leaving and never coming back. But basically, this was his push to the top. They wrestled a match against Razor Ramon and Savio Vega. Of course, King Mabel would go on to main event the next pay-per-view, which would be SummerSlam 1995, going up against Diesel. So this was his onward progression. They fought against Razor Ramon and Savio Vega. Savio Vega came to the aid of Razor Ramon, making his debut, then being called an unknown man. It was pretty weird how fast, Savio Vega got a push there. At King of the Ring, the pay-per-view that was before this one, Savio Vega went all the way to the finals of the King of the Ring in his first pay-per-view before losing to King Mabel. Razor Ramon was out there cheering him along. The reason why they had, become partners and were trying to take on Men on a Mission. Of course, with Mabel getting the main event spot at the next pay-per-view, of course, their team got the win in a pretty uneventful match here. From there, we went to another uneventful match. Bam Bam Bigelow beat Henry Godwinn. Why Henry Godwinn was playing a heel at this time, I had no clue. I thought they were always a babyface team at the time. Next match. I remember when I was watching the Best of In Your House matches, Blu-ray that came out a year ago, probably, maybe longer. This match came on, and I was immediately like, this is going to be a great match. Shawn Michaels against Jeff Jarrett. In my mind, this is the only time I can ever remember them wrestling, and this was for the Intercontinental Championship. Jeff came in there. I really thought the way these guys were going to match up, as good as they were, I really thought this was going to be a great match. This pay-per-view was all built around Jeff Jarrett. This pay-per-view was set in Nashville. Jeff Jarrett got to debut singing his song Be My Baby Tonight live in front of the crowd, which went completely opposite. In my mind, I knew the storyline about Jeff Jarrett and the roadie, where the roadie came out and he said that he was the true singer of the song, and Jeff Jarrett just lip-synced it, much like Milli Vanilli. But when he came out there and he sang his song, they did a real live singing of it. Of course, Jeff Jarrett really did lip-sync the song, and there was real, country band pickers out there and backup singers, and Jeff Jarrett convincingly lip-synced the song in front of everybody in a live concert, which nobody got into, but he was the heel at the time, so he was supposed to. But once it came down to the match against Shawn Michaels, this was a 20-minute snooze fest. This was a boring match, even the second time around I watched it. I remember it not clicking with me when I watched it on that Best of the pay-per-view, or Best of the In Your House pay-per-views set that came out. I just thought that maybe I watched it at the wrong time, but this match just was not good. Shawn won the Intercontinental Championship, which to me seems sort of out of place for 1995, him being in that role. But then again, Diesel was champion. He hadn't won that spot yet. I thought that, he had matches against Bret Hart a few times. I thought that he was had moved out of that role as the IC guy. But this was also setting up a match where Shawn and Diesel would tag up, and they would have all the titles on the line, where they had the WWF champion and they had the Intercontinental champion going up against the tag team guys. And of course, everybody knows the dudes with attitudes. Shawn and Diesel would go on to win that, and they would have the tag champs for a little run. But that match was just bad. Owen Hart and Yokozuna had a match against the Allied Powers, which would be Lex Luger and the British Bulldog. This is the match that I just didn't connect with. In my mind, it was what took me out of this match. The Allied Powers, Lex Luger, and the British Bulldog. The only thing I was thinking was that I was like, well, around this time, any time now, Lex Luger is going to break out of this tag team. Not only break out of WWF, but debut in WCW on the first episode of Nitro. So I was trying to remember the first episode of Nitro's date to see where that matched up with the summer of 1995. And when that was going to be. And then I remember that there was an injury to the Owen Hart and Yokozuna team, where at the last minute, British Bulldog filled in and took over this team. And then I was trying to figure out, when did British Bulldog turn heel, or if he even did, or if they just, flat out blindly said, the British Bulldog's not getting over on his own as a babyface. We're just going to put him in this spot on the pay-per-view, make him heel, and we'll just see where they go from there as the team rolls on. Owen and Yoko, of course, got the win. And then the main event. This pay-per-view is called the Lumberjacks. It's all basically built up around Diesel and Psycho Sid. Diesel and Psycho Sid had matches. At the first one, Tatanka jumped in the match and basically just made it where it was a DQ, where Diesel got the win, but he wasn't able to get a clean win over Psycho Sid. And Psycho Sid and Diesel had crossed paths a few times, and every time it seemed that, there was going to be a fight, Sid just walked out, not wanting any part of Diesel, and, building the Lumberjacks around the ring. No one was going to be able to leave until we had a true winner. The only thing is that all the Lumberjacks on the outside were making the match about themselves instead of the two guys were on the inside. They were trying to get over the people on the outside more than the people that were actually in there, the fight that they were in there. Diesel goes down to the ring, and one of the Lumberjacks on Team Sid is Mabel. And Mabel, who's going to main event the next pay-per-view, is beating the shit out of Diesel more than Sid is on the inside of the ring. He's throwing him into the ring steps. He's really wearing him out, tossing him back in the ring, which doesn't make any sense. If he's the heel, he would think that he would be wanting Diesel to win so he could get the shot. Because if Sid wins the title, more than likely he's not going to get the shot, and it would be Michaels or somebody else in the clique that would be moving up into the main event spot there. So, and that doesn't make any sense anyways, because that's way non-kayfabe. Because I guess non-kayfabe, it doesn't matter if you're a heel or a babyface. Anybody who's going to be the number one contender is going to be the number one contender. So that didn't make sense. But, Psycho Sid a few times had Diesel in a spot where he could have won the match. He hit the big powerbomb on Diesel, and instead of going for the cover in the 1-2-3, he went over and he high-fived all of the heel Lumberjacks. Came back over to try and powerbomb him for a second time, which Diesel was able to basically counter out of. And it was a big squab between everybody that was outside of the ring, which ended basically with Shawn Michaels climbing up on the top of the ring, on the top rope of the ring, hitting a big a big elbow down on everybody, which ended up being the lucky blow, which set up Diesel getting the 1-2-3 pin, and basically being the end of In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks. It really wasn't that good of a show. I apologize for wasting 12 minutes of your time if you watched this whole review. Let me just check it out since I'm here. In Your House 3, I don't know, with 1 and 2 being so bad, I don't know if it's going to be something that I go to. It has the 3 belts in one match that I was talking about, with Diesel and Shawn going up against Yoko and Owen. Vega versus Waylon Mercy. Psycho Sid against Henry Godwin. Bulldog against Bigelow. Douglas against Ramon. That's a match that's on the greatest hits. Bret Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafayette. That's on the Best of a Dungeon. That match. No. I will not be reviewing In Your House 3 anytime soon. A triple header will not be going down. So it'll be a random review coming up sooner than later. But that's it from In Your House 2. Peace out.